the live-action Lilo and Stitch has finally arrived on Disney Plus in the UK, and I have to say it's pretty good. My perspective might be different to some people's, because I don't really like Lilo and Stitch, the animation. Whereas with pretty much every other Disney live-action remake, I enjoy the film and I have some kind of emotional connection with it. So that's worth bearing in mind as I praise this film, but generally it seems to be well received. This was released this year in 2025. It's directed by Dean Fleischer Camp. It's written by Chris Cacanio Kalani Bright, I apologise if I've mispronounced that, and Mike Van Vase. And we have a cast including Maia Kealoha as Lilo. We have Chris Sanders as the voice of Stitch. And as I said, I'm not really a fan of Lilo and Stitch, the animation. I just found it to be a little boring. I think I've seen it twice, maybe 3 times in my life, and I don't like Stitch as a character. So I was looking forward to this because I was going in basically fresh. I haven't seen the film in quite a while. I didn't have any specific expectations, and it really delivered. But as I said, it does have a general good reception. It has 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb across 65,000 reviews and ratings, which is honestly much higher than I was expecting. Not because I was expecting it to be bad, but because I know a lot of people hold the animation really dearly. So I was expecting this to be maybe not as well received, but it seems to have done quite well. The story is the basic premise. Lilo is living with her sister, and we have some really strong messages in this about the importance of family, about how families all look different, and Lilo mentions at one point that families aren't always perfect. And I think that that's a really important message because everybody has a different family dynamic. Families have their own problems and their own difficulties, and it really brings that to the surface. She's very lonely as well, and some of the children are not very nice to her at all. It's not nice to see, more so in live action than it is in the animation. And to help with that loneliness, she gets a dog. However, it's not a dog. It is Stitch, and Stitch is an alien creature who has come down to Earth. This is, of course, Experiment 626, and he pretends to be a dog to avoid being captured and to stay with Lilo, who can protect him. And their relationship is so lovely to see. The bond is so beautiful. And I didn't find Stitch annoying. I do in the animation. I didn't find him annoying. Maybe it's because he looks a little cuter. He's a little bit more adorable. It's easier to buy into him being a dog, and I can imagine him being a dog. So he looks great as well. The animation for the character is really, really brilliant. All of the animation in this is just so well done, so stunning. The whole film is really stunning to look at. And I will be honest, the whole story focusing on Stitch, I don't really care for, but that's not a criticism of the film. I just don't find that part of it to be interesting, and that's because generally speaking, and there are exceptions, but generally I'm not that bothered about sci-fi. So that part of the story was never going to appeal to me that much, but I think we have a nice balance between that part of the story, Stitch's part of the story, and Lilo's, and of course how the two combine. So I think everything was very well handled. The story is approached in a way that makes a lot of sense. The pacing is good. There are a lot of emotions in this. I definitely got emotional on at least 2, maybe 3 occasions, and I don't remember having an emotional response to the animation. I could be wrong. I don't remember how I felt. I saw it in the cinema with my cousin when it first came out, and I remember not being that bothered about it, but I don't remember if I got emotional at any point. And over the years, I definitely haven't. But with this one, that's certainly the case. So it moved me a lot more. It felt more believable. There's something about this that just feels more realistic. It's easier to buy into the characters, to buy into their situation and the emotions that come with that. So in my opinion, I think this is a stronger film. I know a lot of people might disagree with that, particularly if they love the animation, which is fine. That's absolutely fine. But I found this to be rather impressive. The live action aspects are all done very well as well. The performances are very good. The camera works good. Everything about this is a solid experience. And with the soundtrack, I only had one wish. I wanted one song to be in this. And I won't name it, just in case you don't want it spoiled, in case you don't want to know what the music is like. But I will just say the song I wanted to be in this was in it, and that's all I asked for. The rest of the soundtrack is very good. It's a really good film. I wasn't sure how I'd find it. I wasn't sure if I just wouldn't be that bothered about it. But actually, I found it to be a good experience. And I was going to say not liking the animation helped because that meant I could go in with an open mind and I don't have specific expectations. I guess to some extent that does help. With others, for example, with The Lion King, for example, one of my all time favourite films, I've probably seen it more than any other film. I watched it constantly as a child. So I did have very specific expectations with that. And it's still a solid film. It's still a good film. With this one, that wasn't the case. And I think I maybe enjoyed it a little bit more. But that being said, even if I liked the animated version, I think this would have still been a good experience. And I'm glad I waited for it. It has been on, I can't remember which one, but it has been available to rent. I'm pretty sure it was available to rent on another streaming site. And when it comes to Disney, I do like to see them as quickly as possible. And had it been, for example, The Lion King, then I probably would have paid to rent it. But with this one, I wasn't that bothered. I was happy to just wait for it to come onto Disney Plus. And yeah, I'd say it was worth the pretty short wait. It hasn't been out for that long, I don't think. It was worth the wait, either way. I enjoyed it. If you're not that bothered about the animation, I'd say still give this a go. Because in my opinion, it's a much more moving experience. If you love the animation, I'd say it's still worth watching. I'd love to know what you think of it. Maybe you'll like it more than the animation. I'm not saying that that's guaranteed, but I'd be keen to see if a big fan of the animated film happens to like this more. But for me, I found it to be an enjoyable experience, and ultimately, the 2025 Lilo and Stitch is a pretty impressive film.